From the shadows of Japan's deadliest underworld, one name ruled them all, Taro Sakamoto, a retired hitman turned family man, until the past came knocking with a billion-yen bounty. This is the story of how Sakamoto became Japan's most wanted hitman. Part 1. The Hitman Who Couldn't Be Stopped. There was a time not so long ago when the name Sakamoto didn't evoke thoughts of a plump shopkeeper or an ordinary convenience store. No, that name once sent shivers through the most seasoned killers across the Japanese underworld. It wasn't just a name, it was a warning. Taro Sakamoto, once the crown jewel of the Order, an elite unit of the Japanese Association of Assassins JA, responsible for taking out the deadliest killers alive. He stood at the apex of Japan's secret world of hitman. He wasn't merely feared, he was revered. Even those tasked with eliminating monsters whispered his name with trembling respect, praying they'd never be unfortunate enough to cross his path. Now, when I say this man was a monster, I don't mean that metaphorically. Sakamoto didn't just outmatch his enemies, he outclassed them. He fought like a force of nature. What set him apart wasn't just his skill, it was his sheer, unrelenting dominance. This wasn't a man who relied on brute force alone. Sakamoto was a master of all forms of animal combat. Imagine a fighter who could strike with the ferocity of a tiger, dodge with the agility of a panther, and strategize like a cunning fox, all rolled into one terrifying package. Speed, strength, intellect. He wielded them like a conductor leading an orchestra of chaos. If Sakamoto had you in his sights, your fate was sealed. Your life expectancy didn't just dwindle, it evaporated into thin air. He was less a man and more a myth, a living legend whose very existence redefined what it meant to be a killer. You can think of him as the Gojo Satoru of the hitman world, a singular anomaly in a universe filled with killers. Gojo, from Jujutsu Kaisen, has a line that perfectly encapsulates this idea.
Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one.
Sakamoto lived by that energy. Except instead of cursed energy, he dealt in cold, surgical violence. And then, in what can only be described as a massive change in the world's deadliest game of tag, he vanished. Part 2. The Assassin Who Chose Love Over Blood. In a move that defied every law of the underworld, Sakamoto fell in love. Not with violence, not with vengeance, but with a woman. He traded his guns and blades for a wedding ring and a quiet life, stepping away from the shadows to build a family. He married and had a daughter. It's the kind of story that almost feels like it belongs in a slice of life, anime. Picture Rurouni Kenshin, the legendary manslayer who lays down his sword in search of redemption and peace. Sakamoto echoed that pattern, walking away from a life soaked in blood to chase something infinitely more dangerous, happiness. He didn't just retire, he transformed. The once feared assassin put on weight, opened a humble convenience store, and embraced the slow, domestic rhythm of everyday life. To the untrained eye, he looked harmless, like a man who'd forgotten his past. But the truth was far more complicated. Because in the world of assassins, you don't get to just walk away. Not when you're Sakamoto. Not when you're the best. Retirement for someone like him is not an ending, it's a provocation. Every rival, every upstart, every ambitious assassin saw his absence as an invitation. His silence became a siren's call for chaos. And that's the irony. The very act of stepping away from bloodshed made him even more dangerous. Because he was no longer bound by the rules of the underground. He wasn't killing for contracts, he was fighting for family. And there is no fiercer protector than a man with nothing left to prove, but everything left to lose. You see shades of this in characters like Thor's from Vinland Saga, a warrior who abandoned the battlefield for fatherhood, only to be dragged back into the world he once ruled. But unlike Thor's, who sought pacifism to the bitter end, Sakamoto doesn't hesitate to unleash his old self when his loved ones are threatened. It's in these moments, when he shifts from goofy dad to silent executioner, that we're reminded he never got weaker. He just got nicer.
誰その人？知らん。 すがに毒殺家の子は断っちゃった。
ちょっとどいて、邪魔。
よう坂本、俺を覚えてるか。ボム。
Part 3. The past never stays buried. For a time, the world around Sakamoto was quiet, peaceful. He'd traded his blood-stained gloves for an apron, his silence for laughter shared with his wife and child. The clang of blades and the hiss of suppressed gunfire were replaced with joys of stacking shelves and chatting with neighbors. He was no longer a specter in the underworld, just a man trying to live. And for a while that illusion held. But peace in his world is never permanent. Then came the thunderclap that shattered it all. The Japanese Association of Assassins, or JA, the very organization he once served with unwavering loyalty, slapped a staggering 1 billion yen bounty on his head. The JAA isn't just a network of assassins. It's an institution, a fortress built on fear, precision, and the unspoken understanding that no one escapes. This isn't just a workplace. It's a cult of lethality, where loyalty is enforced not by contracts, but by consequences. And Sakamoto, having been one of the order, the JAA's most elite executioners, wasn't simply a former employee. He was a liability, a man who knew too much. In a way, this echoes Itachi Uchiha's tragic burden from Naruto. When you possess the kind of knowledge and power that can dismantle a system from within, that system will do anything to erase you. Sakamoto isn't just hunted for who he was, he's hunted for what he represents. The idea that even the most loyal weapons can rust, retire, and worst of all, rebel. Once the bounty went live, it was open season. Every gun for hire in Japan and beyond smelled blood in the water. The order itself, men and women who once fought beside Sakamoto, now saw him as prey. Among them, some sought glory, others closure, some, perhaps, revenge. Then came the Dandenkai assassins, Boiled and Abiguro, names whispered with dread, turned the streets into war zones. Their reputation from the Balkan battles, where they left over 100 corpses in their wake, made it clear these were not men who would hesitate. But even more dangerous were the shadows within shadows. Assassins like X, aka Slur, whose identities remain unknown even to the JAA. The puppeteer, the antagonist behind the curtain. A man or myth whose very name implies erasure. His motives? Obscure. His goals? Cataclysmic. But his actions leave no doubt. He wants the JAA to fall, and Sakamoto is the keystone to that collapse. And amidst all of this chaos, we see the emergence of a younger generation. Eager, untested, hungry. Take Heisuke Mishimo, the sniper prodigy. He isn't driven by politics or vengeance. He wants validation. A shot, literally, to prove he belongs. The thirst to stand on the same battlefield as legends and carve out his own name. All of them converge on one man. All of them chasing a ghost of the past who refuses to fade.
Sakamoto-san!
Part 4, The Man Who Refuses to Die. And yet, here's where the tale takes a turn that would make even the most stoic shonen protagonist raise an eyebrow. No one has managed to kill him. Sakamoto isn't merely surviving this onslaught. He's thriving, rewriting the rules of engagement with every clash. One by one, he's dismantling his foes, proving that retirement hasn't dulled his edge, it sharpened it. The strongest hitman in Japan, that title still belongs to him, and he wears it like a crown forged in blood and defiance. There's a poetic cruelty in this. The man who once stood atop the assassin world, who could eliminate entire squads with surgical grace, is now fighting to avoid being pulled back into that very life. And yet he's forced to wield his old skills to become the monster, just long enough to keep the monster at bay. He's dismantled entire squads of bounty hunters. He's clashed with technologically enhanced killers, those who treat the art of assassination like a science experiment. They come with gadgets, enhancements, modern strategies. Sakamoto? He comes with instinct, experience, and an almost mythical understanding of violence. And here's the irony. He's doing it all while running a convenience store. It's this bizarre duality that makes a story feel so grounded and yet so grand. Like Spike Spiegel in Cowboy Bebop, he moves through his mundane routine with the ghost of the past haunting every step. Cool, collected, but always on edge. always aware that any moment the peace can break, and it does, over and over and over again. Yet he refuses to die, and in doing so, he's rewriting what it means to be a legend, proving that the past may never stay buried, but neither will his will to live beyond it. Part 5. What's next for Sakamoto? Now let's shift the lens forward, peering into the haze of what's to come. The assassin world isn't just trembling, it's in utter chaos. The question lingering in the air isn't whether Sakamoto will survive another day. It's how long can he keep this relentless war blazing before the entire underworld collapses under his weight? Because make no mistake, this isn't a man fleeing the shadows of his past, desperately clinging to a quiet life. No, Sakamoto has become something far grander, far more formidable, a one-man army, standing defiant against a legion of killers who've made the fatal mistake of underestimating him. The stakes have never been higher, and the cast of adversaries only grows more menacing. Ever since Slur came onto the scene, the rules have changed. This isn't about contracts or loyalty anymore. It's about domination. And Slur? He's the chaos agent tearing everything down. Just to make a statement, he's released 4 of the deadliest killers from prison, each with body counts, so high they read like wartime statistics. All 4 are now hunting the elite of the Order, and that includes Sakamoto. For individuals so dangerous, so pivotal to the balance of the underground, that taking them out could collapse the entire structure. Sakamoto stands as one of those pillars. The Order is in disarray. Slur is rising like a demon king. And in the middle of it all is a man with no intention of dying, not for pride, not for revenge, but for love, for family. That kind of fuel burns hotter than rage. It lasts longer than fear. And as long as they're in danger, there is no force, natural or man-made, capable of killing Taro Sakamoto. He gave up blood for peace, traded war for love. But when you've lived as a legend, the past never stops hunting you. The war is far from over. And Sakamoto? He's just getting started. Like, subscribe, and stay sharp.
Sakamoto Taro.